Hey, Alan Christina here from Vic42. We just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of our patrons, everyone who's supporting this project financially. It couldn't be done without you. As you know, our goal is to build a community of people that want to value, inspire, and celebrate humans, and that's exactly what we're doing through this project. So thank you for your support, and if you haven't supported it, please get on board and become a patron and make this happen. We want to grow this project massively over the next few years. Thank you so much to everyone. Again, especially Sam at 2% Jazz. You've been amazing. You were our first big patron in, and we thank you so much for your help.
Now we want to tell you a little bit about who our next feature is. Our feature today is Deb Rhymer. She is the heart of the blues community, and we found her so inspiring because of all of the time that she's put in over the years to creating communities in all different areas of her life.
Absolutely. So buckle down, enjoy this. This is Deb Rhymer. Have you been in Victoria forever?
I was born here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm one of the rare people who was actually born here. Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I moved here when I was 2. Does that count?
Yeah, that's pretty young.
From Vancouver.
Sorry, it doesn't count.
From Vancouver. Yeah.
Not fair.
Yeah, no, I was born here. So I was born out in Belmont Park in the naval housing,
Okay.
in Langford area. And yeah, I've lived here my whole life, other than I was in Winnipeg for a few years when my dad got transferred. I've been here the whole time.
That's awesome.
Went to school here.
Where'd you graduate from? High school?
It's now called Spectrum
Oh, yeah.
Elementary School.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Mount View, and then they built the new school. And I graduated from the first graduating class of Spectrum, but it wasn't at the new school. It was at the old school, which is now torn down on Kerry Road.
Got it.
So, yeah, many, many years ago.
It's amazing how many things have changed. When we're interviewing people, they're like, oh, I did this in this spot, but now it's this. Well, before that, it was actually this. So I went from this to this.
Yeah.
And now it's like this club or something.
Yeah.
It's like a whole, it's funny to hear how the city changes in everyone's life.
Yeah, yeah.
So you spent, how long were you in Winnipeg for?
Just a couple years. My dad was transferred. I don't know why the Navy you'd end up in Winnipeg, but we did. And we were just there a couple years, moved back here when I was so I was there for kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2. Halfway through grade 2, we moved back here. And I had to jump into school here at halfway through the school year, like, that's fun that is for kids, but
Yeah.
that's what I did, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. Okay, so when did music start? Like, how did you, where did that trickle into your life?
Well, I always sang. I always liked to sing, but I used to do it when everybody would leave my house of my parents, and the only thing I had was my parents' records. So I did all the show tunes, I was like Sound of Music, Oklahoma, and I'd wait till everyone leave, and I'd learn all these songs, and I would sing them, and I always wanted to do it, right? And when I was a little kid, I used to charge money, I hate to say it, for people to come up on my sun deck. I had a sun deck on the side of the house. Come up the top of the stairs, I charged 30 cents, and I was taking ballet at the time. And there was these 2 twins that lived across the street, and I thought, well, I'll have a twin on each side, and I'll be in the middle, right? I was doing it way back then.
And how old were you then?
Oh, I was 10. Yeah, I was 10, and I was like, so we're going to charge, we'd make the neighbors come and charge them 30 cents, and we would do a couple of numbers from, Swan Lake, a couple of ballet numbers, and then I remember we would do 4 Strong Winds, and we'd sing, and we'd, do all these stupid little shows, and that's kind of, where it started, and then when I was in elementary school, they took all the kids and they'd stand them next to the piano and see how many octaves they had and whether you could sing in tune, and then the teacher said to me, you're going to sing, we're going to do Leaving on a Jet Plane in front of the whole school, and you're going to sing the last line, and by yourself. Everyone's going to sing the whole song, then you're going to sing that, oh babe, I hate to go line all by yourself. And I was like, But that kind of kicked it off, and probably about, I'm going to date myself, I guess, 1977, Don Peterson and other people in town here, we were all kids, and on 4th Street, up above where Dots Fashions is, there were rehearsal studios, and kids could rent rehearsal space to rehearse their bands, and there'd be like 5 rooms, and each band had a room, and we would rehearse our bands. And I had a band back then it was a rock band called Hostage. And Dawn and I played together that long ago. That's how long we've been friends. And so it was a rock band. So I did the rock band thing kind of right out of high school. And then that just, I did a little bit of, playing here and there. And then I kind of got out of it, and I got married and, all those things. And I kind of got out of it for a while. And I didn't really get into the blues until 1997. And in 1997, these guys came to me and they said, we think you can sing the blues. And I said, well, I don't know the blues. So they gave me a few albums and said, learn this, learn this stuff and whatever. So I did. And I started singing the blues, and had my own first blues band experience. Wasn't my band, it was a different name.
Do you remember what records those were?
The songs that we did? It was Marcia Ball and Luann Barton, like the real, Angela Straley, like people who've been in the blues, in the Austin music scene, in the Texas music scene way back then. So that's what I did. I'd sing those kind of songs, and there was a blues jam at Herman's on a Tuesday night, Bluesy Tuesday, and I used to phone them up because I didn't know you'd just go down and sign up, and I'd call them up and I'd say, I'm coming to sing, and they'd be, okay, Deb, that's good, come sing, And I sang Stormy Monday until everyone got quite sick of it, till I got another song, right? But, and that's how it started, and I went to New Orleans in early 1998, and I went right from New Orleans up to Memphis, right through the Delta and all the whole blues thing. And that really changed my life because I realized the importance of blues and what it meant and the history. And all of a sudden, having not really cared about blues, all of a sudden I cared about it a lot, And so that's kind of where it started, and I never really stopped.
And so that band that gave you all the records you joined, where did you go after that? Like, did you just, like, band-wise?
We just did, different blues things. The band was called No Fixed Address. It was a typical, whatever. And we just did blues songs. We didn't do too much, and it wasn't for a few years that finally band members change, everybody breaks up, and then you got to throw the name away and you got to start all over again, right? And what happened was someone said to me, if you have your own name as the band, then you're the only one that has to show up. So I took that to heart, and I decided that I would just start the Deb Rhymer band. And I can't even tell you what year that was now, but the beginning of the 2000s, I guess.
Nice.
So then I just thought, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do my own thing, and that way only I have to show up. So.
Have you ever had a gig where only you showed up?
No, not yet. No, thankfully.
So was it that trip that made you decide that it was blues that you really wanted?
It was pretty well, yeah. I knew it was really going to be important to me, and it was something new, and so it was exciting. I liked rock music. I was the one who always got stuck singing like Blondie and Led Zeppelin and all these things, and I liked it. I really did. But the blues was a new thing, and I didn't do it by choice. It just kind of came to me. So yeah, it was good. So, and then after that, I really never looked back. I just kept singing blues and until I started my duo, and then I got back into rock and pop and all those things,
That's awesome.
So that was fun.
And so how did that lead you into the blues jam? So this is a fun thing in Victoria that happens all the time. You've been a part of it for how long now?
Yeah, so the blues jam, I've been hosting the blues jam. I tried to calculate it. Andy, our drummer, knows the exact date, but I want to say we've been doing it like 17 or 18 years. Like, it's been a while. It's been a long time.
That's awesome.
And someone else was doing the jam at a at a bar on the gorge, and they quit, and so we grabbed it, and kind of, you know, have been doing it ever since. And it's gone to many places. It was at the Strathcona Hotel for a long time. It was at Tally Ho for a long time. It was, you know, at the Red Lion, and now Herman's. So it's been a long time.
Herman's feels like a good home for it, though. You know what
It does.
Like, compared to all the other ones, it just feels like a good home.
Yeah, Herman's is a great home for music, period, and the people at Herman's are great. So it was a great move, I think, for us to go there, and you know, we're really happy to be there. That's for sure.
It's kind of neat that it's gone back from you singing your one song at the jam,
Yeah,
to running the jam.
yeah. It's funny how that went. But, you know, obviously I met a lot of people along the way, and I put out sort of our first album as a band in 2005, and then I didn't do another one until 2018, I guess. So it's a long break in between.
Yeah, well, you were busy. It's not.
I was busy. I had a whole career. And that was part of the problem, is I had a really mostly heavy-duty day job, so that I didn't have time. I was working really hard.
Yeah.
And I was a single mom, and I was, I wasn't going out every night, and it was hard to get childcare and different things like that. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so eventually, I just sort of worked through those things, and then when we did our second album, I started to record a couple songs, and then David Vest, who you all know, said to me, "You know what? It would be a game changer if you would write the music." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that, if I can do it and everything." And he said, "Well, I think you could. So give it a go." So the project went from, the short project to, and I ended up writing or co-writing half a dozen songs on the album. So that changed everything, because then all of a sudden it's original music, right? So.
And how did that feel for you when you were done? Like, when you were like, okay, I did that. How did it like?
Well, felt really good, and I realized that that's what I should have been doing all along.
Yeah, and you've done 20 albums since then, right?
No way. I wish. No. Just that one, and I'm not even sure, where I'm going after that.
But that one did very well.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did very well.
Yeah.
So we're happy about that.
What was your favorite song that you wrote out of the 5 or 6 you wrote on that one?
Well, there was only one that I wrote everything myself, where I wrote the music and the lyrics, and that's a song called "There's the Door." And I've always liked that kind of blues. Oh, I have to cough a second.
That's okay. No.
Okay.
We're all right.
You'll edit what you need to.
Sometimes, or we just let it run.
Oh yeah. Anyway, it was that kind of tongue-in-cheek, female blues songs. I'm attracted to those. I do a lot of those kind of songs, even if they're not my songs.
Yeah.
I really like that, because I can relate to it, right? We sing about what we can relate to, and I thought that was a good one. So that was the song probably that, because I wrote both halves,
Yeah.
It meant a lot to me, and it was autobiographical, about.
Go back and listen to
Yeah.
Let's listen carefully.
I always say, when I do it live, I say the names have been changed to protect the innocent, and that's about it. Not so innocent, but
I was going to say, were they really innocent?
they weren't very innocent. No, they weren't. But so that's how that happened. And then I had some wonderful co-writers like Bill Johnson, and my band co-wrote on one, and Victor Wells, who I do a duo with. I found that I was able to just shoot lyrics to him, and he could put wonderful music to it, and we've kind of been doing that ever since. So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah, and so you had a career on the side of all of this, right? Mm-hmm. So you were doing music, you were running the blues jam, and you still had a career on the side,
mm-hmm.
which I think is fairly normal. Like I talk a lot about how even as an entrepreneur or anything, you still, when you're starting something, you need to be self-funded.
Yeah.
Right, and there's no way around that.
That's
if you
right.
want to really do something, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of musicians we talk to who are even like photographers and like any creative. They're working a job and then putting hours into their stuff on the side.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most inspiring things I think about creatives is that deep desire to keep going.
Yeah.
And the number of hours that it takes to do what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had some time, as I say, but the career was, it was pretty heavy duty at different times. I had a number of different roles, but they were all very busy.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of work in community-based projects. So way back when I was in the federal government, we had a lot of money and we could just, I wish I was still there because now I'd know exactly what to do with it. But so if we saw something in the community, we could fund it, and it would be job creation projects around a project. So if you look at the extension on the Belfry Theatre, that's something that we did. We did the first needle exchange program in Victoria. We did the first, AIDS Vancouver Island, project and whatever. So we were really cutting edge back then, and that was the happiest times in my career, was doing that kind of work. And that's how I got involved in community stuff, right? Because I could really see the benefit of, we could do these community-based projects. And it was good for the people on the projects because it gave them skills and they often got jobs and went back to work. And so I had sort of two paths in my career. I either worked in childcare, meaning daycare. I built daycare centers. I funded daycare centers. And I did it in my private life. I got involved in building an out-of-school care program at my daughter's school, and job creation. I was always in job creation side, federally and provincially, and I kind of jumped back and forth and was there for, when I add it all up, I was there for 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So which have you been doing longer, singing or that?
Yeah. Singing in the shower. And making people pay for it on the sun deck, yeah. But yeah, singing in always on the side. It was always my love.
Yeah.
But it was secret. There was my music life, and it never crossed over into my work life. There's people in my work life who would be absolutely shocked that I played music, and there's people on the music side that would say, "You really have two brains to rub together, and you can, Yeah. So at the very end, the last sort of 15 years of my 35 years, I was a director, so I was pretty senior, and I did a lot of, bigger projects and that. And because I had started when I was a baby, when I, turned 55, dating myself here, I could retire, I'd done my time, so. And then I went, well, I think maybe I'll play some music more, and I'll do a lot more music, and I'll write, and I'll do an album, and that's when all that happened, is because I thought, now is my chance, I can do what I want to do, and I couldn't when I had to make a living.
Do you think there was a distinction between your work life and you said the two life didn't really know each other?
Never.
Right? And I remember I grew up as an entrepreneur and a photographer.
Yeah.
And so my two worlds didn't know the other existed. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
And I think back then it wasn't as acceptable to be doing massive extracurricular activities that were also kind of businessy or creative.
Yeah.
Because I found that like business people were like, what do you mean you're a creative? Are you a loser creative?
Yeah.
The creative people were like, what do you mean you do business? You must not be a creative. Like there was like these arguments, like these opposing forces between creative and business.
I definitely found that too with dance, that if people thought you had a day job, it must mean that you're not successful at whatever you're trying to do creatively.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely found that was the case. The only time it overlapped was, and I'd have to think of the year, I think it was like in the 2000s, there was a woman in the public service, and she wanted to do a show called Pop Stars. And it was where people impersonate pop stars. And we did it to raise money for the Community Services Fund. And we did it for a number of years. And we raised, I don't know, I wish I could ask her the grand total, but like tens of thousands of dollars for the Community Services Fund, which went to everything in Victoria. And we did this show called Pop Stars. It started out kind of small. It was at St. Anne's. Then it went to the McPherson, and then it went to the Royal Theatre. And the Royal Theatre actually hired pop stars to do their fundraiser because it was so popular. So I impersonated Bette Midler,
Nice.
and who I loved my whole life. So it was easy to do because I knew all her music, and Bonnie Raitt. So those were my two. And there's videos of it, and we've got all that kind of stuff that's still out there. But we raised a lot of money, and so that's kind of where the two intersected, was in shows like that I get involved to raise money, and that's when I think I really started getting involved in raising money for other things, right? So
I think now too it's becoming more acceptable for you to be able to do multiple things.
yes,
Right? And more acceptable to be able to have very opposing abilities.
yes.
Right? So I think it would be interesting to hear for you, did your music and the creative side help you in your business, in the career side, and did the career side help you on the music side? Was there benefit to that for you?
That's a tough one. If anything, probably the music part made me more sensitive to different social issues, I guess, because I was always working in social programs of one type or another, especially on the job creation side, because we'd always deal with people with multiple barriers. And so I think the music, there's so many different characters and people in music. I think it made me more sensitive to the differences that people have, and that's probably the biggest overlap. And then, as I say, I found that, we do music, we can raise money, and so that was the other big one, and it was good for teamwork and that. I used to always have my staff, we'd do little skits and all that. I was always the one that was pushing for that, and so every one of the people who worked for me will remember, oh yeah, she made us, I'll dress up in garbage bags, and I would. And the federal government, there was a guy named Jake, and we had a band called Jake the Snake and the Snakeettes, and I was a fabulous snakeette. And we wore, like, literally garbage bags, and we danced around, and, we did it for fun. And I can remember throughout all the different jobs I've had, I've always seemed to bring it there. Mm-hmm. That's what we did for our party, or for, we would write songs making fun of the government.
So you're still really involved in community fundraising and community projects.
Yes.
Tell us more about what you've got going on.
Oh,
It seems like you always have so much going on.
I know, it does seem like that. After the Pop Stars, we raised, a lot of money with that. And then I just thought, what else, can we do? And a few years ago, we decided that I thought it would be nice to have an all-women's event, and just support women-serving organizations. And through all my employment programs work, I met all these agencies, Transition House, the Sexual Assault Center. I knew them all intimately. I funded them for years. And so I thought I'd like to support some of those agencies. And I have to give credit to B.J. Cook. I don't know if you know B.J. Cook. So B.J. Cook is, there's a band that came out of Victoria called Skylark, and it included David Foster, and that was her husband at that time. And she was an amazing singer who sang with Skylark, a very celebrated band, and she also sang with Ronnie Hawkins. She was a Hawkette and everything. And she used to get some of the women in town together who sang, like myself and a few others together, and she'd say, I'm going to call a meeting of the bitches. And so anyway, it got bigger and bigger, and other people wanted to come and that. And then one day she said, this isn't just a meeting of the bitches. This is a bitch fest. It's a festival like of the bitches, right? So anyway, so Bitch Fest. So that's kind of how it started. In the very first year, we decided to have a Bitch Fest, even though it was a bit controversial. And we thought we'll just have one night of just dancing and fun and drinking and carrying on and entertainment, and we'll get all the women singers we know to get up and sing, and we'll have all this, and we'll raise money. And we'll put it back into the community, into these women serving organizations. So that's kind of how it started. And the first one was, small, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we've had a little break because of COVID, but we want to get back into it and raise some more money. The type of organizations that have benefited from it have been like the Victoria Women's Transition House, the Victoria Sexual Assault Center. And the most recent one was that we fundraised for the first female recovery house in Victoria. Mm-hmm. So that was really near and dear to me because I thought that's something we've never had. That's something really current. The drug issue is really significant and we need to support it. So that was the last one that we did. And, we've raised a lot of money over the last few years for that. And we've had a whole lot of fun doing it.
It was a whole lot of fun.
It is.
I'm glad that you involved
Christina will know. And we plan to do it again, and we're going to have Christina do her dancing and all that. And it's just amazing, and women just really enjoy it. We never let the other sex in or anything. We just said, no, we're going to have it. We're going to stick with women and just have an event where we can really cut loose and have a real night of fun and food and dancing and everything, and then turn it all back into the community. So it's been great.
You're still doing these things in the community. So are there other things in the community you're still involved in? Like, how are you?
Well, I'm the chair of the Victoria Blues Society. So I went on a blues cruise in 2006. And while I was on the blues cruise, there was a lot of people. There was a meeting of all the blues societies all over the States and Canada. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have our own dedicated blues society here. Mm-hmm. So I was on the ship, and there was another wonderful blues fan named Sandy Clues. And her and I, one night, after a few drinks, we toasted and we said, when we get home, we're gonna start a blues society. We're gonna have a meeting and whatever. And Dave Harris was at that very first meeting. And in January of 2007, we started the Blues Society. And so, that's been a labor of love ever since.
Right.
So
what's the focus of the Blues Society? So
the Blues Society is really just to appreciate the blues, to put on blues shows. We used to do education and training workshops around the blues and things like that. Just all appreciation and love of the blues. And so we've been going for many years. We have a strong board. We do, we were doing lots of shows, not as many now, but
I see they're coming back.
They're coming back. We're coming back. We usually do shows all throughout the year and then take the summer off because it's festival season. It gets, too hard to get volunteers, too hard to, but we do shows throughout the year. And we try and do a combination of touring artists and supporting great Canadian artists. Like we've got Big Dave McLean, who's a big Juno award-winning blues guy coming in April, along with Tim Williams and Kevin Belsner. We try and do that sort of touring musicians, but also local. So we'll have our little blues extravaganza events, and it'll support all the local bands. And Victoria has always had a huge blues community. I don't know why. Bigger than Vancouver in some ways.
Really?
Yeah, it really is. It's been for a long, long time, and there always was a blues jam in town and all of that. So, so that's what we do, and we still do. We put on shows throughout the year, and hopefully introduce people to the blues and support the blues and all of that. So. And then most recently, I got involved with Herman's.
Yeah.
So when we ended up at Herman's, Herman's is an institution, of course. It's an iconic venue. And they were kind enough to come to us and say, "Where's the blues community? We hear you've lost your venue. Where are you going to be?" You know, and I said, "I don't know. I don't know where we're going to be." And they kindly said, "Well, why don't you come here? And we'd like to have the blues here, and it goes great with jazz." And so, as of August of last year, we moved and the blues jam to Herman's, and we also moved all our blues shows to Herman's. So we've been working in partnership with them. And this brand new venue at upstairs of Herman's is such a beautiful place, but it's missing an elevator. It really needs an elevator to be truly accessible to people with disabilities or mobility issues and that. And so I approached them and said, I want to get you an elevator. And I have a lot of experience in grant funding and getting, money. And so how about I work on getting an elevator? And they said, yeah, that would be great. And I've started that whole thing now. But then they said, well, what about if you were on the board? Then it would be a lot easier.
Like, we got her.
Yeah, we got her.
In.
Yeah. So would you join the board? I hummed and hawed a bit, and then finally, I started out the beginning of the meeting, it was a coffee meeting. I wasn't going to join, I was just going to do the elevator, and by the end of it, I was on the board, so.
And soon you'll be directing.
Yeah, so it was just kind of one of those things, so I've been doing that. I'm very happy to do that because it's so worth investing in. It's such a wonderful place, and I think I can do some good because I do have that background in getting money and coordinating things and organizing things, and so I thought that'll work out. And it'll be also our way to contribute to the venue that's given us a new home. So it was a win-win all around, and so that's how that started. So those are my two main community things that I'm involved in right now.
Yeah, because it's a big flight of stairs to go up that side, right?
It really is. It's too much, And so we want to have a really good elevator. And with that, what that does is it makes Arts on View, which is the name of the society, and the Hermans and that whole building an arts hub. Yeah. So not only can you have musical performances, but you could have dance performances then. You can have arts installations. You could have something in the back room, something in the front room, you could have all kinds of events. It just it has such potential. So that's I thought it's worth investing in. I love a project. It's the one thing I miss when I'm not working anymore is I miss those projects. So I thought, I need a project. So.
Are you busier now than you were when you were working full time?
I don't know. Because don't forget too, when I was working, I had a daughter who was at home, so I was raising a child and doing all that. So it was pretty busy, working, and it was a lot of work when I was working. I worked long hours, and I had a lot of responsibility. The last job I was in, I was the director of the Canada-BC Labour Market Agreement. So I was responsible. I think it was $384 million. So there was pressure. Pressure, and there was But yeah, I don't know if I'm busier now or I have a big capacity for work. So it's hard to say. I feel pretty comfortable. I like to have a lot to do. I don't like to be bored. That's for sure.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's your next plan? Like, so you've got basically the two things going on. So you're doing the Bitch Fest stuff and you're doing the Herman stuff.
Yeah. And the Blues Society.
And two bands.
And two bands.
Jam.
Yeah.
Just a few things.
Yeah, just a few things. So yeah.
So what's been the biggest change you've seen in your time in Victoria? Because I think it's interesting that there's a lot of people who are new to Victoria, or they come here to retire or anything. They didn't get to see Victoria evolve to what it is today. Mm-hmm. What's been the biggest thing you've noticed in the evolution of Victoria in your time here?
Oh boy. Gee, that's tough. It's just the growth, I think, generally, and of course the hardest part has been prices going up and everything, rental and everything. So yeah, it's gotten more and more expensive to live here, the cost of living, and
Yeah.
So that's been a big piece of it. So.
How about in the music scene? What's been the biggest change that you've seen?
Just the fact that there aren't enough venues.
Yeah.
So there's lots of creativity here. There's lots of talented people, but they don't have anywhere to play.
Yeah.
You know, it's been really tough. When we found a place, we would kind of glom onto it and, you know, fill it with music and all that. But things came and went. If you think about like Swans, you know, Swans was a huge music hub. It was a place to dance and everything. There's none of that anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
And I found that with a lot of these places, they're gone, you know.
Yeah, and there was that one that tried to start up in the last 4 or 5 years across from the old Bay Center. What was that one called? Remember that one? They had a roll-up door on the outside and stuff, and they just couldn't fill it.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think of what that was
They're
called.
trying to do like a dinner seating and live music, so it wasn't like a
Yeah,
drop-in.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember what it was called, but it was it was a great concept.
Yeah,
I think I played there once. It's on the same street as Herman's, right?
It's on
There it
Douglas.
is.
Yeah, it's on Douglas. It was
Oh, no,
right
I know
across
right
from the
there.
bay.
Yeah, the market, whatever they call the public market,
Yeah.
is right across from the.
I
public
should
market.
know it, and someone will be saying it's such and such, and
Yeah, and Logan's used to have live music. I don't know if
yeah,
they still do.
Logan's
now.
is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Logan's is gone. The Tally Ho was a huge, you know, live music venue with a big room, and it's gone. You know, so.
Well, I guess too, as prices go up and rentals go up, it's in every area, so it's going to be even harder to get a big space right downtown.
Yeah.
For people too, right? So
I think that's one of the big challenges for live music and is venues. You know, it's either huge, you're either in a big theater, or you're in a little tiny pub that, you know, and there's not many sort of performance spaces in between.
Yeah.
So that's been a real challenge. But there's still a lot of music and a lot of bands here, and I know when we would do our blues extravaganza events, you know, we'd have 10 bands easily, and that's just picking, you know, some of them.
Yeah.
So there's always been a big scene here, and a big dance scene here as well. People love to dance. The swing dance community, West Coast swing, all that, it's big.
Yeah.
And when you combine, you know, the music and the dancers and everything, it's really wonderful. So that's been the best part for me.
I think it's interesting. We were just talking last night to someone about how I used to swing dance a lot. So I was over at Swing City with like Denny. I can't remember his last name. But he was like, he ran the whole thing, and there was like 200 people there with live bands and like everything. And it's just unheard of now.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And like, and swing dancing is one of those things in like West Coast swing that is easier than say salsa dancing, because having a 10-piece salsa band is like unheard of.
Yeah.
Right? In Victoria. And
Yeah.
so even something like swing is there's just not a lot of live music. There's not a lot of like.
Well, we had the salsa band for a while. Like we played maybe 3 or 4 nights a week for a while, and none of the places that we played are around anymore.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So that's been a real challenge. You know, you want to put on shows, mid-sized shows, where do you go? And that's why Herman's Upstairs was such
That's
a great thing, because it became a medium-sized venue where there was none.
Yeah, and that venue has been a lot of things over the years.
It
like
sure
a lot.
has.
It's been like nightclubs. I remember it was Yuck Yucks.
Yuck
for a
Yucks,
while.
Comedy Club.
Right?
Yuck
And
Yucks
it's like-
put a lot of money in there, and that's where that tiering of that room occurred and everything.
Yeah.
And they really left a nice space for then someone to pick up and take it to the next level. So
Yeah, it's great. I'm super happy you guys picked that space up.
yeah, I'm thrilled too. We're so lucky, you know.
Yeah.
But
And what's the future for the Blues Jam stuff for you? Are you're gonna do that every Sunday? I heard
We
you're
do it
also
every
doing one in
Sunday.
Sydney now.
well, we were doing one in Sydney just once a week.
Right.
He actually wanted us to move the jam out there. But we just knew that, you know, with drinking and driving and all those things, we just knew it wasn't going to work every single Sunday,
Yeah.
and that there'd be a big gap. So we said we'll go out once a month in the middle of the week, and we'll try it. So, and then, you know, COVID hit and he had to shut down. It's a beautiful space.
Yeah.
It's called Boondocks, and they have a banquet room with a beautiful full-scale dance floor.
Yeah.
You know, and but he hasn't been able to open up fully yet to be able to utilize that, other than for some private parties and that.
Yeah.
But it's a great place, and we'd certainly, you know, consider continuing to do it. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it happened. But the jam here has been going every Sunday for, like I say, many, many, many years.
What do you think are going to be like? We were just talking about kind of how there's this void. How musically, how with the lack of stuff, like where's that? Who's going to fill that void? How are we going to go back to concerts if over COVID lots of venues have disappeared? It's going to be a challenge, I think.
It is going to be a challenge, and one of the things, I mean, the City of Victoria launched a music strategy, and within that music strategy that they launched, they have goals in it, and one of them is to try and establish some of these medium-sized venues for performance and that. So they're supportive of it, and I think they know that there's, the need for that. So hopefully, some other places will open up. Meanwhile, we're going to continue to utilize everything that's out there. There's quite a few performance spaces, and then of course smaller bars and restaurants a lot of them are having live music, so that helps too. So there's more places for people to play. Yeah. But it was one of the reasons I got involved in doing a duo with Victor Wells was it was a lot easier to find places to play as a duo, because you could be in a restaurant, you could be in a pub, you could be, private parties. It just sort of opened up the whole thing of how we could continue to perform. So that worked out really well. And so we play like all the little local pubs and everything, and it's just another way to do it. And it was good for me because I had been so into the blues then for the last few years. I missed singing other types of music. Mm-hmm. And so it allowed me to do pop and rock and a little bit of jazz and all that. And I've even actually been working with another piano player just playing jazz. Nice. Because I realized I really like that too. And so we've been working up some songs, and I'll probably end up doing some jazz only type nice. Gigs down the road. So it's just something I guess I've always loved it, so much. It's always been such a big part of my life. I wanted to do it as much as I could, and so being versatile and having bands and duos and different things, comes with opportunity. So that's kind of how that happened.
Well, I've always been inspired by you for multiple reasons. But one is the community that you've created is so tight, and you've had so many issues over the years with losing venues and moving venues, and you just right away, the venue's gone, oh wow, we're having another one for next week. And, and I've been through the same thing with dance, so I know how hard it is to keep everything going when things like that happen, and you just seem to never have a problem making it happen, but I know how much work that takes. Yeah. And I've also been really impressed with how much you give back to the community with all the other events that you do and things you're involved with, because I have a day job and then dance, and I feel like I don't have time to do anything else. I have no idea how you do all the things that you do.
Well, I don't have a day job anymore.
But even still,
that helped.
But you used to.
I used to.
And I don't know how you do it.
Probably didn't have much of a life other than that. That was the problem. And I don't know. It just, interest. I'm just very interested in it. And as I said, just a big capacity for work. I like doing it. I like to be really busy. I'm all about having a project. And so it was just attractive to me. I'm just going to keep doing it. Do something a little different and see what we can do. But I got involved in things years and years ago. Sort of the way I feel about it is if I see something and I think I can fix it, I want to go fix it. Mm-hmm. So there was no out-of-school care at my daughter's school. And I was a single mom. I needed daycare, So that was an example. So I said, well, they were building a new school at Sir James Douglas School, and they said that there was an opportunity to build a daycare right into a brand new school. So because I'd been working in funding programs all those years and that, I kind of knew how to do that. So I thought there was a BC 21 grant initiative, and I said, I think I'm going to get a BC 21 grant, and I'm going to open a daycare. at the school. So sometimes I was driven by my own issues, and what I needed the community to do for me, and then I would just get involved in it and start, figuring out how to get the money and get it to happen. So often it was driven by things that I saw were missing, and that was one of them. And of course it benefited me, because without that security with my daughter, to have a safe place to go and that, nothing could happen. And so, it meant a lot to me. So much that I got involved in childcare, and eventually I started applying for jobs that were related to childcare, building daycare centers and that. And I became the director of childcare for BC. And that's what I did. I built daycare centers and funded daycares, and I got very involved in it, And then I went back to employment programs and then did that for, so it sort of went back and forth over the years. And that's kind of how, how I would, take the steps to get something done. And I've always found that there's a great capacity in the community with people that we know to get things done. People are very giving and kind, and they're always happy to work on things and help out, and so I always, nothing is achievable without a wonderful team of people around you, to do stuff. So we always would put some great people together just to get stuff done. And there's all kinds of, as wonderful people in this city that will work hard for a goal and make something happen.
Yeah.
Well, and you're good at gathering all of those people together behind a cause.
Yeah, well, I think too, being here my whole life, I've know a lot of people, or can make a lot of connections, and the other thing is, our blues community in particular are some of the most loving, wonderful people you'd ever want to meet, and they get all credit for making all that happen.
Right.
And coming together, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful thing for all of us. And we are, as you said, we're very tight. We care and love for each other very much, and so it's a wonderful community. It's not hard to keep it going and to find people who want to be part of that, and we have a lot of fun, as you know. So
You think being rooted in the blues, everyone would be sad and
yeah.
angry.
Like the exact opposite.
Yeah. Well, like someone said once, the blues is about that, but it's also about getting through things and rising up. And when it came from the cotton fields and back in the day in Mississippi, that's what it was all about. And so it's as much about sadness as it is about new beginnings and joy and all of those things. And when I realized that, that's when everything changed for me. It was a game changer. I had no appreciation for that until I went to the States and really experienced that firsthand and looked at the history and how fundamental it was.
Yeah.
And I think you'll notice that lots of Aboriginal people love the blues, for example, because they can relate.
Yeah.
They can absolutely relate to that, the pain and the sorrow part, and the dealing with adversity and all those things. So it really, and again, we just became a stronger community because of that. And yeah, I think it's pretty special. It's certainly mattered a lot to me, and I think very highly of all those people and everything that they've been able to do as a group. So here we are. I don't know, we became a society in 2007, so here we are that many more years later, and we're still going strong, and there's still lots of interest in people who want to hear the music. And with the Maple Blues, Canadian Maple Blues Awards and all of that, and Toronto taking the lead, the Toronto Blues Society, there's been a strong blues community, throughout Canada. So
how old were you when you took that trip to the U.S.? Because that sounds like a pretty fundamental moment.
So it was. So I was 40. I was 40 years old. It was a big thing, because I was just getting into it, and No Fixed Address, the band, was just kind of starting out, And it was a real big deal. And I didn't know a lot, then. I didn't really know very much. And then, of course, I started going on blues cruises, and I did 5 of those. So I was with everyone from Etta James to, and they're on a boat. They're not leaving. They're with you for 7 days. They can't get away from you. So if you want to sit down, talk to Etta James, you sit down and you talk to Etta James. There was Ike Turner. There was, I could go on and on, Irma Thomas, like blues people that were my heroes, And you could go off for 7 days in a boat to the Caribbean or whatever and do nothing but that all day, every day and night. And again, it made a big difference, So, each level that I got deeper into blues music, the more I appreciated it and the more I understood what it meant. And there were I can think of different times I remember going to a gospel brunch on, out in the middle of the Caribbean or something, and someone getting up on stage and singing or whatever, and I was just like, like it was almost like this is a religious moment, like, oh my God, like I'm overstimulated, like this is just too much to see this. It was just so powerful and so wonderful. So it was. Each of those things contributed to loving it more and more and more. So
yeah. So music is emotional, right?
Yeah.
Like, very much so. And I think as much as it's emotional, it's also cultural. Mm-hmm. So how did that change that kind of identification with what that music and what was going on? That there must have been a bit of an identification with the culture of that music for you.
Absolutely.
And then coming back from that, how did that change you? Like if you look back, because when we have those moments where we're impacted by music, it's not just that we do get into the music and get into the culture, but we change. So what was that big change for you?
Well, that was the big change was well, of course, the first change was in the 90s then when I started to sing blues music, because I didn't even know a blues song. I seriously didn't. I was a rock singer, I had no idea. That was the big change. And then the other big change was, of course, on the cruise and deciding to start the Blues Society. And then after that, it was just gangbusters, because then I just never looked back. I've been the chair all these years. I wish someone else would take it on, but they haven't. And I've been doing it all these years and just keep trying to push us forward doing that. So that was a big, big change, because with the society, having a nonprofit structure, having meetings and plans and people to work as a team on putting on shows, well, then it just went to a whole nother level, right? So... And, I love it. It's a wonderful thing, and I love the blues. I got to know more and more about it as I became educated. I'm not like Dave Harris educated, but, I love it, and it's meaningful to me. And I have to say, when I sing some of these songs that I've written and whatever, and they have that emotion in it, it's like getting it off my chest, after I sing one of those songs, I feel like, oh yeah, that feels good, to say it, it's like it's a way to safely get out your angst, so when I had, angst or whatever, I would sing, right? And I would just put everything into that as deep as I could go with it, and then put it out there, and I still feel that way.
One of the things I've asked everyone, and I've been doing this since Big 42 started in like 2011, maybe 12. But if you knew the whole world was listening to you, and not only listening, but they would take in what you're about to say to them, what would you tell them? Like, what would you want the world to know?
Oof, that is really tough. Can I go away for like 10 days? Come back with an answer? What would I want the world to know? Oh, that's really tough. That's so tough. The only thing I can think of is that music is healing, and music brings people together, and music, is brings joy, and that would be the thing. It's just how much music can bring us together and give us joy, You know, there isn't anybody who doesn't listen to an old song. You have your old favorite song, and it brings you right back to, you know, that certain guy or a certain person or a certain place or a memory. Like you said, you both have traveled a lot. You probably have a song that you say, oh yeah, when I hear, you know, Van Morrison do this song, that takes me right back to. And that's the beauty of it, is it's emotional. It makes you feel sometimes really, really sad or sometimes really, really happy, you know. Um, Even to this day, it's such a big part of my life. Certain artists and certain songs, and you know, it's given me more joy than anything else. That's for sure. So that's the big thing about music, is there's something for everybody. You can find, there's a song, you can hear a lyric, it's going to resonate with you, and it's going to make you feel emotional. And I think that's incredibly powerful, you know.